I thought this would be an interesting story, something I remembered from childhood. This actually covers a range from around 12 to around 16. So I guess that 4 year period. Um, I kind of I matured strangely for a kid, I guess. Um, the therapist said I basically jumped from 11 to 25. I didn't know what that meant until many years later, but basically, I kind of, from a maturity perspective, I skipped those teenage years, and it kind of made interacting with people a little awkward, but not horribly. But anyway, I tended to be a passive personality. A lot of people mistake that for submissive, and that's definitely not the case. I was not submissive, and I tended to get upset if people treated me that way. But I also wasn't dominant. I didn't like dominating over people. It made me uncomfortable. But I also didn't like being dominated either. Almost got into a fight with one of the girls at the store once over that because she tried to treat me like one of her subs. And I was like, yeah, that ain't gonna fly. But anyway, it resulted in a lot of bullying. And the kid across the street was particularly notorious for, picking fights with me. And he was even younger and smaller than me, but because of my passive, logical nature, he got more and more bold in his aggressiveness. And one day he called me out for a fight. And I figured, okay, whatever. I'll let him do what he's going to do. And I go out to fight him, and I just stand there and just take it. I just let him hit me and kick me, and he could barely reach my face, but I just take it. Eventually, we're on the ground, and he's just getting angrier and angrier because I won't hit him back. And at one point, again, I'm like 12 years old, so I don't realize the implications of some of the things that I say. For me, it was a very matter of fact statement. It wasn't intended to incite anger. When he appeared to get tired out, I said, I don't remember exactly what I said. This is, you know, 35 years ago or whatever. But I said something along the lines of, "Are you done yet? I got to go do homework." Just no attitude, no nothing, just straight up matter of fact, monotone, just, I'm bored. And it just made him angrier. Oh, I mean, I guess now, obviously, I wouldn't say something like that. I know better, but 12-year-old me didn't know better, and so he just started pounding my head against the asphalt. And eventually, he got tired of that, and um, his mom comes out screaming and yelling. And I don't remember whether it was Jack, his dad, or if it was my dad who came out and told her to knock it off, that I didn't touch him because she was screaming and yelling that I was beating up her son. He's like, "No, your son just beat the shit out of my son, and he didn't lift a finger to touch him. A single punch, and I could have destroyed him. I mean, I had to be a foot taller than he was, even at 12. But I took a very passive position on this kind of stuff. You see, my logic was anti-logical. Logic only works with a rational being. Logic doesn't work with an irrational being. My logical reasoning was that, well, if I punch you in the face, assuming you're still conscious and I haven't broken your face, what are you going to want to do? You're going to want to punch me back in the face, which is going to make me want to do what? Punch you back in the face. It's a recursive circle. It just feeds on itself. It's a logic loop, and we just keep punching each other until one of us passes out or can't continue. I mean, that's the way I saw it. As a rational, logical, sane human being, that's the way that I saw it. And so, I mean, what's the best way to get out of that if you can't avoid it? Don't participate. That's going to cause the least amount of damage if you don't participate. That doesn't work. And it took until my 11th year in high school for me to learn that that doesn't work. And I learned that I have to fight back in order to stop that kind of bullying. That children are not human beings, they're animals. And animals sometimes only understand pain. And I mean, if a bear is mauling you, shoving a knife in his face or a gun in his head is about the only way you're going to stop him. Saying, please, Mr. Bear, stop eating me is not going to be very effective. You're just going to be bear turds. And I have to treat bullies the same way. And it took me 4+ years to learn that fact. Of course, after I beat up the first 3 bullies, the physical bullying stopped. I should have done that 4 years earlier, but, I was a weirdo. And I never forget that. It's just the animalistic rage. He just got, it was just, Jesus, this goddamn fly keeps trying to go in my nose. This animalistic, just inhuman rage that this little kid had. And he just, everything I did to try to diffuse the situation just made him angrier. It's like he wanted me to fight back. He wanted it to be a fight. And it not being a fight, me not resisting the process, just made him angrier. And it took me a very, very long time to figure that out. And the problem is, those kids grow up and they become adults. And one of the most common misconceptions people have is, you'll hear the phrase, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Power has no intent. It has no motivation. It has no conscious thought. Power can't corrupt anything. A person who is corrupt, they're not corrupted by power. They seek power. People who are corrupt seek out as much power as they can so that they can act on their corrupt nature. It's important to understand that distinction because how you fix it's different. If power corrupts, then the only solution is to eliminate power. But if you recognize that corruption seeks power, then all you have to do is prevent those people from getting power. And the solution to those two things are very different. I'm actually having that problem now. And it's the same as before, except this one's life-threatening. Michelle and I got sick last year. She's still in a nursing home. Although it looks like action is finally being taken to make sure she gets properly cared for. She's starting to get the medicine she's supposed to get, and the lady said that she's going to work on getting her the 5-day-a-week PTO physical therapy that she should be getting to get her back on her feet so she can come back home. But last year when the electric car broke, it doesn't have enough range to make it to the transfer station and back in most cases, because when you come back it's slightly uphill, and the uphill drive causes a bigger voltage drop in the batteries, the cells that are bad, and that causes the BMS to cut out the pack. And so it's risky to take it to the transfer station and back because I might not make it back up the hill. I need to figure out a way to use I have a 1500 watt battery, generator, solar generator thing, big battery. And I got to figure out a way to spoof the ground so that I can use that to charge the car. I mean, sure, it can only charge the car for an hour, but I only need 5 minutes. Because if the car shuts down from a BMS fault, the only way to restore it is to plug it into power. Then it begins to charge. It realizes that the batteries are there and they do have voltage, and the computer resets. So if I get stuck on the side of the road, my only choice is to call AAA or plug the car in to reset the computer. If I can make it work off the battery, then I can reset the computer myself. Just put it in the passenger seat next to me and just run the cord out the window, plug it in for 5 minutes, let the battery reset, and then try getting up the hill again. Nissan refuses to warranty it, even though it's under warranty. They committed all kinds of nasty fraud to try to get out of it, and they probably succeeded. There's not likely to be much I can do about it. But the problem is that's the only vehicle that has a hitch that I can afford to drive. This car and the minivan don't have a hitch. And the only way I can afford to do trash is with the trailer. Because with the trailer, I could take 8 to 12 bags of trash. With the car, I could take maybe 4. And it's not only is it $5 each time I go to the transfer station, but it's the fuel to go to the transfer station. If I could put 12 bags in the trailer and 4 bags in the car, I can justify the gasoline to go to the transfer station. Taking 4 bags, I can't. I don't have that kind of money. I just don't. So of course, what happened is I started stacking up the trash bags. I kept it neat, they were all in black trash bags. I knew clear bags would degrade in the sun. And I put them all in black trash bags and stacked them neatly on both sides of the door, figuring, okay, once I get the car fixed or figure out another way to get to the transfer station, I can load up all the trash and take it. What I didn't anticipate was the animals over the winter literally ripping every bag apart. The cats, dogs, probably coyotes, even the birds, squirrels, they all just tore into the bags. Mostly dogs. They would just rip into the bags and like literally, it's a giant pile of trash now. It's no longer a neat stack of bags here, there, and there. Now it's just giant piles of trash. Thankfully, they're in the lee of the wind, so the wind doesn't blow them across the whole goddamn county. So of course now it's a nuisance to clean up. By the time I got better, to where my head was working correctly again and I was getting sleep, now it was an unmanageable mess that I've been trying to work on. And I have been, I get rid of an extra bag of trash every week. My neighbor lets me use the excess space in his trash can because he generates very little trash. And so I can get rid of 2 bags of trash a week. That means I'm only getting rid of 1 bag, though, because, I obviously generate a bag of trash every week, just from the stuff that we eat and whatnot. And so I have that bag plus 1 more bag I can get rid of every week. Eventually, the city decided they weren't going to tolerate it anymore, so they gave me a notice to abate and all that crap. And I thought they were going to work with me, but for some reason, the guy who's in charge decided he doesn't like me. I don't know what I did to him. I mean, it's not even that bad a mess. I mean, there are many properties in this city that are far worse than mine. I mean, my 3 piles of trash are a lot for me, but in the bigger picture, they're very small. My problem is I just have no way of getting rid of it in a timely manner. And I can't bag it up. That's the first thing I did. I was like, okay, I'll just rebag all this. Yeah, within a week, the animals tore it all apart again. So I have to leave the piles of trash as piles of trash. And I can only bag up what I can immediately get rid of. Otherwise, they just tear it apart. I do now have both trailers empty, and the animals appear to be leaving alone the trash in the trailers. So now I can bag up trash until I fill both trailers again. And I also got like 6 of the trash cans emptied. So now I can use those trash cans for more trash. Because if I can seal it inside the trash can or put it under a tarp in the trailer, the animals have more difficulty getting a hold of it. But that still leaves the problem of getting rid of it. But at least that gives me time. And the way this guy talked to me at the hearing, I wanted to pick up the desk and throw it through his face. He's a bully, and he has power and he knows it. And the problem is, I can't do anything about it. I want to punch him in the face and tell him he's a fucking asshole, but I can't. Because he has the ability to take my home from me, and I think he wants to. The city wanted to come in and with their own people and take care of it. And, the one zoning guy said that, under $5,000, we do not renew the lien. So he said after, 3 years, I think it is? After 3 years, the lien would expire and they would not renew it. Well, the problem is, that's not how it works. He says they won't renew it. That doesn't mean they won't. And that doesn't mean they won't call. Meaning say, okay, pay it back or we foreclose. Even though they say they won't do that, they can. And who knows who's going to be in charge in 3 years? Who knows what the financial state of the city is going to be in 3 years? Who knows what the attitude of that guy who was treating me like a piece of shit at the hearing? I mean, he had the nerve to, talk over me and not let me talk at all and tell me I was quibbling. And then, when he was finished, he said, capiche. And I was like, yeah, I literally told him to his face, like, you think you're fucking Don from New York or something? And by the way, you're talking like you're a retard. Italians speak with their hands. It's capiche, okay? It's not capiche. It's capiche. Jesus Christ, what a wannabe. But he has the power to ruin my life. I do not have the ability to leave Edgewood. Okay? In this current environment, I couldn't sell my house for enough to buy a new house anywhere else within a reasonable distance of here. So I'm stuck here. I can't move. So I have to somehow figure out how to get the hell off this guy's radar. Which means I also now they kind of implied to me I'm very bad at reading between the lines. I'm not good at reading subliminal messages. You kind of need to just tell me to my face what you want to say, because I'm oblivious to it. Call me an airhead. I don't know whatever you call it. I'm oblivious to that kind of crap. But I kind of got the notion that he was telling me, just let us clean it up and the problem will go away. But now, after hearing the way that guy talked to me and his attitude toward me, he wants to hurt me. That man wants to hurt me. He wants to make an example of me. He wants to stroke his penis on me. Whatever it is, he has a desire to make an example of me. He will take my home. I'm sure of that. Which puts me in an extremely, extremely dangerous position. Because now, if they do decide to not give me any more time, even though I'm making progress, they could simply say, well, it's not enough. I mean, they've already said, okay, we're going to give you 60 more days, and now they changed it to 30. What happened to the 60, buddy? And all it takes is for him to decide, man, the progress isn't fast enough. Fuck him. And the way he was talking to me, that's exactly what he would do. And I think that either they don't care, they agree with him, or he has clout over them because none of the others did anything to stop him from treating me that way. I don't let anybody talk to me that way. I wanted to hurt him so bad. I wanted to just pick up that desk and shove it through the wall behind him and take him with it. So now, if they come out to abate using their own crew, I have to use violence to stop them. What choice do I have? If I allow them to do it, they'll apply a lien on my house. I mean, you have any idea what happens to a person in my physical state who becomes homeless? I die. How long would I live living out in a car? A week before blood clots got me? Maybe 2 weeks? I'm dead. Okay? Homeless equals death. So if I'm going to die either way, I might as well die defending my home. I mean, what choice do I have? I can die telling you no, at which point he'll send men with guns, at which point I will have to force them to escalate to lethal force and I die. Or I let him take my home and I die. I mean, I'm not suicidal, but dying under a hail of bullets sounds a lot less painful than dying slowly on the street. I mean, I'm not going to shoot back. I don't even have a gun. I mean, I'm just going to refuse to comply. I'm going to resist violently. And of course, police are going to do what police do. They're going to escalate the level of force until they can either force me to comply or they shoot me. Well, you're threatening me with death. It's either death now or death later. Dead is dead. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I just need to figure out a way to get the fuck off his radar and be invisible somehow. I somehow need to make myself invisible to where he'll forget about me somehow. And I don't even know what I did. Is this just RNG? I just happened to be the case in front of him when he decided he wants to make an example that he's going to be hard on whatever and clean up Edgewood or something? I don't know. I don't even know his name. I have no idea what I might have done to slight him or to make him angry at me or to dislike me somehow. I mean, I don't know. Neighbor across the street's going to help me. They have one more dumpster day at the end of the month. Um, I want to try to see if I can get maybe a couple volunteers to help me out, maybe. My problem is I don't have the physical capacity to bag up all this trash in the time that I have available. I just don't. Um, I can do 1 or 2 bags a day if I'm lucky. And if I do too many bags too early, the animals will just tear them apart again before I get rid of them. If that fucking car worked, this wouldn't be a problem. But Nissan screwed me with the car. I've been taking the car to them since 2019, 2020 for this problem. And do you know there's not a single record of me taking the car to them for this problem? Every single time I took the car to Nissan dealership, I shouldn't say Nissan, it's a dealership. It's I forget what the name of it is. It's the one here on the east side of Albuquerque. But every time I took it to them, it was for this problem. I had them bring up my records for service, and they listed everything except that. The times where I brought it only for that problem, they just listed it as annual battery checkup. Not one single word on what I actually brought the car in for. So now there's no paper trail to show that I've been bringing this car to them for 5 years with this problem. It's got 40,000 miles on it. It's a brand new car. I haven't driven it in 2 years because it has about a 20-mile range. I can't even get to Albuquerque and back. And then they tried to commit fraud and lie to me every which way they could. They tried to bleed me of money to make me go away. And then they finally threatened me. I took it to them and they said the computer says it's fine. I have video of the car turning off at 70 miles an hour on the interstate. Let me tell you, that's a pucker factor when your car shuts down at 70 miles an hour. And semis are doing 75 past you, speed limit 75. I was accelerating up to 75 and the car just went, bloop, turned off. And thankfully it turned back on that time. I guess I let off the gas fast enough and recharged the battery before the BMS cut it out completely. And the car turned back on about 10 seconds later. That was a pucker factor. They took it for a test drive around the block. Probably never went past 30 miles an hour. So they refuse to test it because they know if they take it on the highway or if they hit the gas, it's going to do it. And they don't want to do it. They then tell me that when they finally inspect the battery, from underneath, they say they see signs of rodent damage. I'm like, fantastic. I was like, order me a new battery. And the guy's like, great. Okay, well, order you a new battery. It's $8,000. I was like, no problem. Order a new battery. I was like, my insurance will cover it. And then he stops. He's like, what do you mean your insurance will cover it? I have full coverage. It covers rodent damage. Oh, we can't do that. I just looked at him in the face. I was like, so you're full of shit and you lied to my face about there being indications of rodent damage because you know that if I submit a bill for $8,000 to the insurance company, they're probably going to send out an adjuster to verify before they plunk out $8,000 for a battery. And they're going to say, there's no rodent damage. This is a warranty issue. So they refuse to order a battery. They refuse to give me a receipt that says rodent damage. And yet the reason they won't warranty the battery is because of rodent damage. But they refuse to give me a receipt that says rodent damage. But they won't warranty the battery because of rodent damage. You see the problem here? So I go home. I call up Nissan America, Nissan USA. Now, apparently the way they work is that Nissan USA doesn't have direct control over these dealers. They're independent operators. This stuff is poison, but it tastes so good. It's very good poison. So the ombudsman for Nissan USA tries to negotiate to get them to look at the car. You can't make them do anything, but they can ask them to look at the car without charging me. Because they wanted to charge me $700 to drop the battery. And even though it's a warranty issue. But again, rodent damage that they won't put on paper. So they look at the car and they tell me, okay, your 12-volt battery's bad. We're not doing anything to replace the 12-volt battery. They're just looking for any reason not to do anything. So I have to spend $221 to replace a 12-volt battery that, yes, the 12-volt battery was bad. No, it doesn't matter. I mean, the car only needs the fucking battery for the remote controls and to connect the fucking relay contactor for the high voltage pack. That's why the battery's this big, because it doesn't need to start anything. Okay, I could put a pair of 9-volt batteries in there. I could take my drill battery and hook it up to the car and it'll work fine. But that's their excuse to get me to bleed money to avoid working on the car. And so I get a battery, I drive down to the dealership with my other car, and keep in mind I've already spent $50 on an Uber to get home, or a Lyft or whatever it was, because they won't give me a ride home. They'll give me a ride 35 miles that way, but they won't give me a ride 24 miles that way. How convenient. Because it's outside the city. 35 miles that way is inside the city, but 24 miles that way is technically outside the city, so nope, we can't take you home. So, I put the 12-volt battery in. Now they can't use that as an excuse. Now they tell me, okay, we have to drop the battery. But you have to pay $714 to drop the battery. If it's a warranty issue, we refund the money. But of course, I already know they're willing to lie and commit fraud and, whatever else you call that, scam. And then this is where they threaten me. And this is where I've stopped dealing with them because I can't do anything else. They said, and think about what I'm about to say here, okay? You're going to realize the implied threat, okay? Because that's exactly what they're going to do. They said that, however, we have to warn you. The technician has final say when it comes to safety. If we drop the battery and the technician determines the battery is not safe, he does not have to put the battery back in the car. They just threatened me. That's a threat. What they're saying is, you're going to make us drop this battery. We're going to take $714 from you. And then we're going to leave you with a car and a battery as two separate pieces. Good luck getting that home. That's exactly what they just did. They just threatened me. They said, we're going to split your car into two pieces. Fuck you. And now I'm stuck. What can I do? I can't afford a lawyer. There's no paper trail because they lied on every single report when I took the car in for service under warranty. They just put down any other reason except the reason I brought the car in for. 4 times I brought the car in for this exact issue, and every single time they put down some other reason except the reason that I actually brought the car in for. How do I prove that? I mean, sure, a judge will probably look at it and go, yeah, your car's got 40,000 miles on it. The dealer's probably full of shit. But how can I afford to pay the money to get to that point? I can't. I make $400 a month. Okay? Why can't people be decent? Why is it always fuck everyone? I mean, why? My guess is that there's a cost sharing agreement with the dealerships that this is a guess. I don't know this for a fact. I'm guessing. But it seems to fit the facts. My guess is that if the battery is declared a warranty replacement, that Nissan and the dealership share the cost of the replacement, meaning they probably split it in some way where the dealership eats some of it and the Nissan eats some of it. If I had to guess, I'd say the Nissan eats the battery and the dealership eats the labor or something like that. I do not know if that's the case. That is a guess on my part. But it would make sense why they would be so resistant. I mean, if Nissan's going to replace the battery, what do they care? Unless there's a cost to them, then they'd care. And because I didn't buy the car from them, I bought the car from a shyster in Philadelphia. Yeah, that was a shit show. But since they're not the dealer that profited from the sale of the car, they don't want to eat the cost of the replacement. And that leaves me with a bad car. Still works, still runs. I just can't leave town. Keep in mind, this is not pissing on electric cars. This has nothing to do with the fact that the car is electric. This would be absolutely no different than my Kia engine blowing up because of a recall and Kia refusing to warranty it. It'd be no different. This is not the likelihood of an electric car experiencing the failure mine did is extremely remote. It's a niche, uncommon problem. Very rare. 1 in a million. It's just RNG. It happens. Sometimes you buy a brand new car and the engine blows up when you drive off the lot. Sometimes you buy a brand new car and 30,000 miles cells go bad. Sometimes you just don't know those cells are going to go bad until you put mileage on them. The quality control is pretty good, but it's not perfect. So it's not a fault on electric cars. This is an honoring a warranty issue between me, the dealership, and the manufacturer, that nobody wants to own up and honor the warranty on this car. I paid $17,000 for a 1.5-year-old car with literally 4,000 miles on it, not even like 3,500 miles or 4,000 miles or something like that. The car's brand new. I only put 30,000 miles on the car before I started experiencing problems with the range. Where you'd say I got 100 miles and then 60. Or it'd say, oh, you got 40 left. Oh, you got 10. And that's because those cells were starting to undervolt. And it determines how much capacity you have left based on cell voltage. So when some of the cells drop, the overall pack voltage drops, and it detects, okay, you have lower capacity. Well, when that capacity drops below the safety point, it doesn't just show less range. It starts to protect itself and turn the car off. And that's what's happening now. When I go up any kind of an incline, any kind of a hill, even just a 20-mile round trip to Moriarty and back is a strain on the car, because there's like a 200-foot elevation climb when I get back to Edgewood here, and that 200-foot elevation climb, or 150-foot, whatever it is, that small hill, is just enough to stress those cells to make them drop a little too far. Then the BMS safety mechanism kicks in and says, because the car doesn't want to burst into flames. It's protecting itself. The BMS is doing its job. It's doing what it's supposed to do. But what can I do? And so now I'm stuck with a car that should be saving my life right now, because I wouldn't have to buy fuel that I can't use. I mean, if that car was working properly, I can visit Michelle every other day and it would cost me next to nothing. And because it doesn't, I have to now spend gas, which I don't have. So my brother Logan is sending me gas money so I can visit Michelle. And now I have the city breathing down my throat because of the mess at my house. And I have someone who's in charge of whether or not I survive the next 6 months or not, who apparently doesn't like me for some reason, and I don't know why. What can I do? Unlike bullies in high school, I can't just punch them in the face. I just go to jail if I do that. I mean, unlike bullies from high school, he's a bully who has actual power, and he has the ability to hurt me, to, kill me, either by making me homeless, which would kill me, or by threatening to take my home, which I would, of course, resist violently, and he would then have no qualms whatsoever about sending thugs with guns to kill me. It's not his problem, it's my problem, right? Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's not that bad, but I'm supposed to take a chance with my very life. I'm supposed to risk my entire home on the hope that he won't do something, when he was extraordinarily hostile and antagonistic to me in our very first meeting. He says, you never showed up to sign an action plan. You never fucking told me to show up and sign an action plan. I mean, your paperwork literally says, meet at the defendant's home. It didn't say defendant, it said something else, violator or something. It said, meet at my home and create an action plan, which we did. Nothing on that piece of paper, and nothing in the verbal conversation we had said, come into the office on Monday and sign some paperwork. Why the fuck wouldn't I? I've already gone to your hearing. I've already had you over my house. We've discussed an action plan. What possible reason would I have to say, oh, now just, fuck you, I'm not going to come sign a piece of paper that says that? What reason would I have? I don't know. I'm just venting at this point. And it's getting dark. So, a little bit of a downer, this video, but, hey, life's ups and downs. Not every video in this series is going to be a positive one. So, we'll see.